Hey YouTube, how's everybody doing? Coming down off some high ground. It's a bit windy today. Out for a quick walkabout and just carrying the gear and whatnot. Just trying to stay used to it and everything like that. But and watching the wildlife. Here's the birds. Anybody know bird calls very well? My dad could probably tell me. But anyway, been watching this situation in Missouri, Ferguson, Missouri, and this whole situation, pretty distressing. And I know we talked about it in the Dragon Sunday night. Was it Sunday night? What is today? Last night as well. Goodness, I'm losing track of days. Get you out of the sun. Last night we were following it along on Twitter, and I know Third Option was listening in on the scanner and everything, and situation's pretty out of hand, pretty crazy. But I've been trying to figure out, trying to draw the parallels between Bundy Ranch and this Ferguson situation. And you know what caused them is different, but the cause is the same. Resisting oppressive government, militarized police, unlawful actions by police or police-like figures. So I see a lot of similar cause, but the way it's ending up is a lot different, and the way it's been gone about. And I'd imagine the results will be different as well. And I was trying to think of why that is and what we can do in the future to prevent that. I mean, the Clive and Bundy situation is far from over, but the hot period, at least one of them, is over. You know, the whole stand down and getting back to cattle and everything. And it's just more of a PR war and waiting for somebody else to make the other move. Because if they were in the right, they would have an arrest warrant or something like that, and that hasn't happened. So obviously no law has been broken. They're just waiting for the color of law, or to find some way to make it illegal. I would imagine that's what they're waiting for. But this Mr. Brown situation, and I think what really got out of hand is, it's good people will rush to support him, but they went about it the wrong way. And I think part of that comes from, I'm sure the family was not ready for that. Family never imagined themselves being put in that position. And I haven't seen them in interviews or anything, or in the media. They've probably been pretty reclusive, which traumatic event I can understand. But Mr. Bundy has been a lifelong, advocate for his rights and the situation he's in, and he has prepared himself mentally and morally to deal with that constitutional crisis he got dealt with, and he was a student of the Constitution. So that's one difference. It would have been nice if in the Brown situation somebody would have been able to step into that gap and be able to explain the moral high ground to the protesters and the press and everybody, to gather that support before everybody went out and rushed the streets, if you will, like they kind of did. And I think you kind of lose the PR war when they go out like that, and I think you see that a lot on social media. You've got the against and the fors, and everybody's in the middle is like, I don't want to deal with it. I'm going to sit right here out of the wind for a minute so I can get this in. But Mr. Bundy made it abundantly clear, and with himself and using his sons to explain the situation and the constitutional crisis that was at hand. Whereas you don't have that same similar message getting out of Ferguson, Missouri. And with Al Sharpton showing up and stuff, that's not going to happen either. You'll hear a lot about the suffering of the black man and racism, but not a clear placed argument against the police state, against big government, against unconstitutional actions, unfortunately. So if there would be a better advocate that could step up, it would be nice. And the one thing that really stood out to me is at Bundy Ranch, and I even said this to Tony when we were there, you do what the wishes of the family are, because their name is going to be attached to this forever. No matter what goes down, positive, negative, it's his name and his name that at stake. And the Brown family and Michael Brown, you know, his name's gonna be attached to this forever. And people are forgetting that, and they're being selfish about the whole thing. And this whole episode is gonna be either a positive or negative on his name and his family's name. And that's unfortunate. Just like Rodney King, you know, that name, you know, at least it rings a bell with people and it resonates, no matter what they think of the situation. And it's going to be the same with this, I think. And I think that's what people need to understand when everything like this happens and an individual's involved at first, and people come to coalesce around that thought and that idea. It's better to put a name attached to it than to try to make it bigger than the person. Because if you can keep it at the person level, individual, and make it about that person like Clive and Bundy did, it makes a better PR. It makes it better to resist claims by the government and everything else, because it's personalized. And people can relate to personal relationships better than they can big, ambiguous ideas of like, you know, like the BLM land grab and everything else. But when you put, hey, this man, you know, individual is the issue, you know, is what's going on here, and they can kind of focus on that. Whereas Michael Brown has kind of been lost in all this rioting and everything else. And all in the Twitter hashtags, you know, it's all about Ferguson, you know, now. It's about the city, which is a town, you know, and it's to a certain extent that might work to their advantage, but they haven't gained that support at that level yet, it doesn't seem like. And again, it goes back to getting that message forward before you go out and try to be active. You know, we at first at Bundy Ranch, you know, you were on his property and, you know, private property, and that's where everybody coalesced and organized. You know, and it took almost a week before any action was taken. So that's where patience comes in. Before you know that you've gained some numbers and some moral high ground, before you take action. I mean, yeah, in our hearts we know that we are morally right in the cause and in whatever it might be, but you gotta make sure everybody else understands. Not everybody else. You're always gonna have the people that support the big government and the people that are on your side. It's the people in the middle that you're trying to get to and trying to scrape over to your side and get them to understand where you're coming from, so that you can gain support. No matter how it turns out in the end, you've gained some momentum forward. Because we all, I think, agreed that the Clive and Bundy situation was a win. And this Ferguson situation is still to be determined. But coalescing that message, I think, is very important. And getting around the ideas and support, and understanding that when you go out, you know, they've made it about the town now. So I don't know if there's any going back to making it about Michael Brown. But in the future, I think it'd be good to focus on that. And in the Michael Brown situation, focusing on the officer that needs to be held accountable and brought to justice on the whole issue. So, some thoughts on this situation and the future actions. Hope everybody's doing good. Enjoyed the dragon last night with Chad, and who else is on there? And G was on there. G Mangos ran it. So good to see him and Tony again. I think I missed Sunday. So we'll see you tomorrow night on the dragon. Get out there, live free. We'll talk to you later.